And for those who are coming back to hear the conversation after the podcast, we're talking today a lot about a Black women's survival guide, just working in the corporate space. And so we have here this amazing HR professional that can share with us some of her insights and experiences in helping the younger generation be able to navigate the landscape from microaggressions, from whatever that could look like for you. And struggling, I can give a personal story. We could start off with that, Chelsea. I know that I'm still a woman of color in STEM. And I remember working at a major company, consulting company, building an amazing tool for the clients and internally and externally. And I remember that the impact that I had on the workforce around me and what I did, but the people that did not look like me tried to make it seem like it wasn't as big as it was. And that was kind of one of my first challenges that I saw in a corporate environment, but I didn't understand what was happening, but it's designed sometimes to make you feel less than. So could you share some of your insights about, just some of the struggles you may have had or some of the things that you've seen from an HR perspective that just ain't right?
Yeah. Yes. Well, yes, as a minority, as a Black woman in
Right.
corporate America, I think don't think I know that I have faced being in rooms where I'm the only one sitting at the table that looks like me,
Exactly.
whether it's around other men or just truly I'm the only one that looks like me.
Right.
And initially it makes you feel like
That's
almost small,
right.
almost
It's like
small.
scaling back instead of rising up. Right.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
the doctor said earlier today, shrinking down. She said shrinking
Shrinking
down instead of
down.
to push
Yes.
yourself up to feel a little bit more elevated, but we don't get
Yes.
that sometimes.
Yes. Yes. Or even on boards. I've been
Yeah.
on boards
Right.
and I'm the only one that looks like me. And I literally, I know what happened.
Right.
The voice was not heard. It was not valued. I think it was more so, oh, you're just here because this is what you are. Until they understood that I had something to say.
Right.
So
but you gotta stay long enough to let them know you have something to say. And some people don't. They're like,
right.
you know what, I'm leaving. Y'all hired me. I must have been a diversity hire or something because it doesn't feel like I belong here. And one of the things I share with people, I'm like, it's you be invited to the dance is one thing, but being asked to dance is something else.
Yes.
You
Yes.
feel it on the wall, you're not doing anything, but you're at the dance, but you're
Yes.
dancing.
Yes. And I think in this time, as we're having these experiences, we have to learn how to share and talk about it like you're doing here, which I appreciate you doing for so many others, because we didn't have we weren't able to have these conversations with
You think you're
someone.
by yourself. It's an isolation thing. It's almost like psychological warfare. I said that before, but it's real. Feeling like you're by yourself and you're not good enough. And the work that you just put out, which was way beyond what Joe Smo put out, which was him doing or her doing what I call the average Joe. And you now have accelerated in Black excellence, and it's not even identified. It's not even looked at.
Yeah. So no, I think it's very important to have the conversations and to be comfortable having the conversations, because it could be very intimidating. You feel alone, like you said. And then with all of those feelings, you want to quit or you want to stand down or you want to leave, when actually, as you said, you should stay and make your voice heard so that you can make the impact that you're supposed to be, because you're there for a reason, right?
It's a trauma. When that happens, it's a trauma.
It is.
And if you don't deal with it and you feel like I'm going to move on to the next thing or get another job, and you still are experiencing the same types of traumas, eventually those traumas will break some folks. And they start to think, well, maybe I should just leave the industry altogether, or maybe I need to do another form of work. And a lot of times what has happened, Chelsea, I don't know if you know the statistics, but there are more Black women that have started businesses during COVID. There's a percentage than any other race, right? Or background. It's us, Black women, stepping up to the plate because they don't want to go back to feeling the way they were, or they've gotten so frustrated that they feel like, you know what, the only way I can make this work for me and have income coming in is I got to go work for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I have noticed that, especially since COVID, that we are doing the thing,
Yeah, it's the
and many
percentage.
people are seeing us do the thing
Mhm,
rise.
mhm.
And I think truly as a culture as well, we're learning more
Yeah,
and better how to sit at those tables
yeah,
and use our voices. And it is getting better. I think you
that's
see us
good.
more at the tables,
Yeah,
right?
and I think from an HR perspective, you sharing that, just, saying it's getting better because a lot of things you look at, the systems are designed to break our confidence. And if you're not aware of the fact that the system is designed like that, this is what I'm talking to my younger sisters right now coming up the ranks, where they feel like, oh, well, maybe I picked the wrong profession or I shouldn't even be in corporate America. I think it's necessary that we stay there. I think it's
Yeah,
necessary, but to stay there and thrive, not to stay there to survive. That's the thing.
that's right.
So the
Make an
challenge is,
impact. Make
yeah.
an impact, because I think each one of us have that gift in
Mhm.
our own way to do that, and truly, even though we think they aren't listening, right? They
Mm.
are. They understand the value that we have, or we wouldn't be at those tables, honestly.
Yeah.
So though it may seem like in some cases they don't want us to know that they're listening.
So it's like a secret, right? It's a secret agent. It's like we're secretly listening to what you say. And one of the things I was sharing with my girlfriend, I said, I don't want no secret friends. I don't need you to be secretly enjoying my personality while we're at lunch, but then when we get in the boardroom or we get in a office environment with a team, that we don't engage.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
very, very like, what in the
Yeah.
world just happened?
Yes, yes. And then you feel really good when you find those organizations that you can be a part of that welcome you,
Yeah.
to a seat at the table and appreciate you, and that you feel like you can really make an impact with. So
Yeah.
I've seen definitely both sides, but it's good to have the conversation to share that these things do happen.
Now, how did the conversation start with us helping the younger generation or young women that are younger than us so that they don't feel like they're by themselves and that there is a support system out there, that we have opportunity now to share our wisdom and our wealth of knowledge, that we know how to navigate this thing and you ain't crazy. And I remember sitting down at the table with someone, and I was working at a management consulting firm, and he was the DEI person, right? And I went in his office and I was sharing with him a couple of things. And he said, first, let me say, you ain't crazy. It's really happening. And so that
Mm,
made me realize that, oh, I don't just think this. People really see this. It's not just me by myself. And it's not a complaint, it's an observation, because the observation helps you understand the nuances of what's happening so you don't feel like it's you doing something, you know.
yeah. Yeah, I think that we, as professionals that have had some time within our career, have a responsibility,
Mm.
right? To create these moments like you're creating with your podcast, as well as kind of reach back and share our stories. A
Right.
lot of times we just don't share. And it doesn't help anyone, and they need to know, I think, our younger generation that are coming up behind us, and
Right.
even whether or not it's their company or not,
Right.
because even when we have our own companies, we're going and we're sitting at other
And you might be the only
boardrooms,
one at
right?
the table, right? And you still
Right.
performing that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and we just have to, and I think because we are having our own companies and building these amazing businesses, we're starting to have the confidence that we can sit at these tables, can make a difference,
Mhm.
and you just need to listen, or it's your loss, not mine,
Right.
right?
And I have had said that, where you may be missing out on a great opportunity to know a great person, right? That will be you, because they didn't sit at the table with you, or they didn't listen to the conversation that you wanted to have, or they didn't connect, or whatever that could look like. So you have to flip it in the sense, Chelsea. You can't just say, oh, it's just going to keep going on and on. In my mind, to keep me strong, I say, you know what, maybe they missed out on a great opportunity knowing a really awesome person.
Yeah.
You're an awesome person. So it's okay if that's the way they want to walk that out, and you just have to kind of be okay with that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think we're getting there. It's going to take time, effort, and our commitment but we still got to keep having the conversations, the hard ones and the uncomfortable ones.
Yeah, uncomfortable conversation. So keep it
Yeah.
99% versus the 1%, because the
Yeah.
99% is people gonna love you, push you up, encourage you, mentor you, shape you to be the amazing professional you are, which is why I use this platform for what we do and help other women. But then you got your 1%ers. They
Yeah.
may not ever talk to you when you're walking down the hallway, but you didn't do anything. It's just that's how it goes, and you have to
Yeah.
learn how to navigate that.
You have to learn how to navigate it.
Because then you start to
And
shrink back, and don't let it shrink you back. Yeah.
don't let it shrink you back. And it's going to happen. I really don't think anybody is going to be able to avoid that scenario.
Because it's a real scenario, and
It's a real
it's a
scenario.
common thread with the women that I coach and that I mentor, that I'm hearing this more and more, Chelsea. And I realize, oh, it's a common thread. It literally
Yeah.
is. It's something that happens to all of us. But if you don't talk about it, if you don't get the conversation going about it and say, well, how did you survive that? Well, how did
Yeah.
you, get around that? Well, mentally, what do? How do you, acknowledge the obstacle, but don't give it power? What are you doing with that? So.
Yes. No, I agree. I agree. And this is the first step, what you're doing. I just love it. I love it.
I'm
I
glad
love
you
it.
love it because
Having the space. What'd you say, Edna?
I say I'm glad you love it. It's a safe space for
Safe
women like
space.
you to share their knowledge, share their expertise, but then also share your heart. Like the heart of a woman, and this is why it's called a Woman's Heart Podcast, is because we all have hearts. Women all have the same heart. We've all had some level of struggle, whether it's women of color, whether it's white women, well, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Woman is a woman that had the same heart, right? We connect.
Yeah.
But what sets us apart sometimes is because we deviate in that space of color. And that is the problem, but we still have the same hearts. We still go through the same challenges. Women being in the workforce in general across the board. And then you got women of color being in the workforce. And then you have everything else. That's the way I look at it. It's like everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think that we as women sometimes just carry so much on our shoulders,
Right.
and even how we're feeling in these types of situations,
Right.
and not sharing, it really hurts us. It really hurts us. We will not share it until we have to explode. And that could be,
And that could be
years
at work,
later.
when you
Yeah.
explode and all of this is coming out on the person, because now you have all of these incidents that have happened along the way, and now you just can't even take it anymore, and you just explode. So
Yeah. And that's our mental wellness.
yes.
That interferes with so many pieces of our lives. So we just have to start doing better. And it starts with talking about it, communicating, and having a coach
Yes.
like yourself,
Yes, ma'am.
where you can just kind of just put it out there without any judgment. There's no bias.
Yeah.
This is what it is. This is how I feel. And it's okay, be willing to hear that.
Yeah, and I think that's important. So with that said, we're going to close out with some encouragement from you. So what would you share with the younger women that are coming up the ranks in corporate America, who are struggling with some of these microaggressions and nuances that are happening to them, and they think it's just them? What would you share with them to help them be encouraged?
Yeah, I would tell them to stay the course, that they are not alone, and whatever that they're dealing with, there has been someone else that has dealt with that same situation before. And if they reach out and talk about it, and let me even go back, I just said this, the first thing is get a mentor or a coach, someone that can talk you through and help you navigate throughout your career path in life, because that helps. It really does help to have that person stand side by side with you as you're navigating it.
I love that. And part of what you just said is lived experiences. That's what we're sharing right now. Our lived experiences of the way that we were able to navigate the corporate landscape and be able to survive, thrive. You thrived in your last 14 years, but you had to go through some of those other things to get to that, being able to thrive. And I think that part of this will allow women who are listening to the podcast to know that, you're not alone. You got a support system. We're here to help. Again, coaching's good because it's lived experiences, and from a life coach perspective, and then being that mindset and confidence coach for me, I find that that's what I'm pouring more into women. It's just building up their confidence and also helping them shift their mindset so that they recognize that it's not just them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, you're definitely not alone. Absolutely.
Well, thank you again, Chelsea, for hanging out for the conversation after the podcast. We appreciate
Yes.
it.
You're welcome.
Have a
Thanks for
great
having me again.
weekend. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.